Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of our Career Craft podcast. For today, we have Mr. Ali, one of the professionals which is related to cybersecurity with us. How are you, sir?
Thank you for having me, and I'm so excited to be here on this first episode. My name is Ali Sanusi. I'm a certified ethical hacker, cybersecurity professional, and information security analyst. I've had about 7 years experience in cybersecurity and about 10 years generally in the IT field. So I'll be glad today to share with you my experiences and let's see how it goes.
Actually, sir, we are more excited as well because, as professional, we wanted to send some information to our viewers for our first episode, and we prepared some questions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So as a startup, the first question is, how would you describe cybersecurity for those who are new in this kind of concept?
Thank you for the question. And I think this is one of the most misconstrued careers in the world. Cybersecurity is one of the misconstrued careers in the world. And it is important that if you're starting out in cybersecurity, you should ask this question of what exactly does cybersecurity entail? Now, it is important that before starting cybersecurity, you know the rudiments of computers. Now, I would refer back to one of the seminars I attended with some professors at UDST, and this exact question was asked. And the professors gave an insight that was really interesting, which was, don't study cybersecurity for a bachelor's, study computer science, right? So when you know the rudiments of computer science, networking, programming, a little bit of scripting and all of that, it is very easy for you to transition into cybersecurity. What we do basically is to protect digital infrastructures. And when we say digital infrastructures, we mean anything that could connect to the internet. For example, a smartwatch, for example, that has an IP address is capable of connecting to the internet, which simply means that it is at a point that it could be attacked, which means we have to protect this particular infrastructure. Basically, and to answer that question in a very simple language, what we do in cybersecurity is to protect digital assets from unauthorized access and damages.
That was an informative start, right? So with that one, sir, since you have mentioned already, the basic concept of cybersecurity, now what are the, common myths or misconceptions that you have encountered already related to cybersecurity?
One of the major myths in cybersecurity is the assumption that a lot of people have that cybersecurity is for large businesses. And to be honest, cybersecurity is for everyone. I believe everyone in the world has access to a smartphone. As long as you have access to a smartphone, you should be cybersecurity conscious. So the major myth that I find is the intuition that a lot of people have that, no, I don't need cybersecurity, it's only for large businesses. Whereas cybersecurity is for every individual, even small businesses.
Well, thank you for that answer, sir. Now, for the next question is, why do you think, or why is it so crucial today for cybersecurity, especially something related to cloud computing?
Thank you for mentioning cloud computing, and I think that's a very important point to talk about. The world generally is diverting very fastly into cloud computing because we're moving from that legacy era where we have on-site data centers, but now it is much more convenient to have the cloud. Now, one of the crucialities of this is the fact that we have to maintain three things in cybersecurity, especially when we're talking about remote work. We have to observe three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. What do I mean? It simply means that information that is being transferred from a point into the cloud should remain confidential. That is, no third party should be able to have access to that information that you've been saying. Secondly, is integrity of that information that is being transmission or that's being transferred into the cloud. It should have integrity, which simply means that the components of that data, of that information, should remain unmodified, unchanged from the point of sending to the point of receiving, even up to the point of deletion. And lastly, is that why cloud computing is also very crucial is that we have to be able to maintain the availability of that information. That is, whenever we need to receive or retrieve that particular information, we get access to it at any point in time that we require that particular information.
Well, you are right, sir. Since we are already in the 21st century, so this is a kind of era wherein everything is so convenient. So in that case, sir, how do you think cybersecurity affects average person, not only big businesses?
Thank you for the question. If I understand your question correctly, you mean how is cybersecurity important to the average person and not just big, large businesses? Like I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, that cybersecurity is not just for large businesses. Cybersecurity is for everyone. As long as you have a business that's nowadays, every business in the world runs online. Even a small business would make use of WhatsApp or Telegram at a point in time to transact with the customers. At a point in time, small businesses would need the bank accounts to make transactions. They would need to download mobile applications on their phone. At a point in time, an average person downloads mobile games on their phone. At a point in time, every individual watches live matches on their gadgets. At a point in time, every individual tends to make phone calls. At a point in time, every individual tends to send SMSs. Now, all of these are within the digital space. And as long as you're on the digital space, you are a target. You are always a target. Now, as we move further, I'll give you examples of some breaches that has happened to small businesses and even large organizations. Then we'll be able to understand that cybersecurity isn't just for large businesses, large organizations, but it's also very important and crucial for small businesses and even the average individual.
Since you mentioned one important point, sir, while you were discussing, which is transaction. So I have this question that what do you think is the most common cyber threat that a business or some businesses or even an individual may encounter?
So what are the most common cyber threats encountered by an individual? On average, day by day, there's an average of 60,000 threats daily on average. Now, the most common cyber threats that we have in the world today is the phishing attack. We also have attacks like the ransomware attack. Now, let me explain this concept. Now, phishing attack is a kind of attack where the attacker disguises to get legit information from you, whereby the unsuspecting individual clicks on a link that exposes them to further enumerations and further breach of their personal data. Another example of that is a spoofing attack, and I would like to give you a background story of a recent consultation I made with a particular company. I won't mention the name of the company. Now, I had this consultation with them to revamp their website and to conduct a cybersecurity analysis on their website. And whilst I was doing that, I found that the website was vulnerable to a particular kind of attack. Now, whilst discussing, the man enjoyed my discussion and was willing to delve more. Now, he asked me that one time he noticed that somebody received an email from him, but he didn't send that email. Oh, I was like, you've been spoofed. That's a spoofing attack. And what happens in the spoofing attack is impersonating a particular individual. Now, sending a message or an email from one's email address to another person without authorization is called spoofing. Now, I've mentioned 3 points of common cyber threats. phishing attacks, ransomware attack, and spoofing attack. So I hope this answers your question.
And since you have mentioned already, sir, some of the common cyber attacks, so can you share us also like a real world scenario that this really happens?
There are millions of real-world scenarios of cyber attacks that there are, and for more read-ups, we can all visit mitreattack.org and we can read more on a lot of cyber attacks that are happening in the world. To mention just a few, and let me start from one of the most recent one that happened, which is a case of a data breach that happened at Lulu Hypermarket, and this happened around August 2024 or around May thereabout, I'm not too sure. But there was a cyber breach at Lulu that exposed 196,000 profiles of people, real people, which is concerning. So if you at one point registered with Lulu, you've given your personal information out to Lulu, it's important to check on this website, ababinforms.com, and put in your email to see if your credentials have actually been exposed. And if they have been, one of the measures you could take is by changing your passwords and all of that and doing some other things. Now, another one that happened is the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack that happened in the United States, one of the most secure environments in the world. And you can imagine that there was a cyber breach of a Colonial Pipeline, and this pipeline was supplying fuel from Texas to New York, which is a very large distance. And there was a case of ransomware attack that costed the United States about $4.4 million, which is something we should be furious about and should make us more wary of the fact that cybersecurity is always very important, right? So ransomware attack that happened, that's 2021, the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack, and also the Lulu Hypermarket data breach attack. These are one of the most recent and a few examples I can give of cyber attacks that happened recently.
Well, yeah, those scenarios or those things really are concerning, sir. So based on those things that happened, what do you think are the common mistakes that people make, not only about the work, even on their personal lives?
That question is really important. And I think if this is the only point people could get from this interview, I think it's enough. Because there are simple mistakes that are avoidable that would cost us fortune. What do I mean? When we talk about cybersecurity, a lot of people think it's when I go online. If I don't go online, I don't have any problem. But the thing is, I've met individuals that write their passwords in a book. They have a book that they write their passwords in, which is quite dangerous. Okay, what if you misplace that? That means the integrity of your password has been compromised. Look at that. Now, another thing people do is reusing passwords over different accounts. Like you have a Gmail account, you have a Facebook account, you have a Twitter account, and you use the same password all through all of these channels. That means if a cyber breach occurs now and there's a leak in password on this, I can use that same password to log into other accounts. Now, we've also been advocating for a very long time for the use of multi-factor authentication. I believe a lot of people still got an email today for you to enable two-factor authentication. But I still tell you, people are so lazy to enable two-factor authentication. This is a process whereby security protocols or security control is being layered. You have a password and you also have a token so that a password doesn't just give you access. You need a password and a token to give you access in a particular infrastructure. Now, this is so concerning and so alarming that a lot of people make all of these simple mistakes and cost us fortune. Not just them, but it's caused privilege escalation into people that don't. Now, for example, if a network is breached, now, for example, I'm connected to this internet, and if I'm breached and I'm on this internet, I have in turn let this whole internet, this whole network that I'm connected to be vulnerable. So it is important that as individuals, we make sure that we don't reuse passwords over different channels. We enable two-factor authentications, and we don't write passwords in books. And these are not safe practices.
You know what, sir? While you are speaking, there are a lot of things which pop in my mind because I myself is guilty with that. I keep on reusing password because I'm too forgetful. So what could you advise that, how could we create a strong password without forgetting them?
Okay, I think you just made a cybersecurity error now, and I think it will cost you, except people don't know your email. So you shouldn't mention that you're a victim of that and use the same password. That will give the attacker that mindset of, okay, I think she's prone to. So whilst that's been said, I might also say that everyone is a victim of that. And it is important that I mention this. There is no strong password, right? And if you define strong password as something very long and has a lot of characters, I would say that you're wrong. Because every password could be cracked, right? Every password could be cracked. The only difference is that the time it takes to crack passwords are different. Now, if you use a password, for example, 123456, now it will take me like 5 minutes to crack that kind of password. Now, if you use a combination of, maybe you say, instead of 1, you use I23456, I to replace 1, it will take me around maybe 10 days to crack that. Now, you can see, it's not as if the password you're using isn't good, but the time it's going to take for me to crack it is going to differ. I'm not saying I'm cracking a password, of course, I don't do that. So, that being said, to make sure that you don't forget passwords, or let me start with how to create a strong password. Now, it's just combining different characters, capital letters, small letters, numbers, and characters, combine them together to create a strong password. Now, whilst I don't advise that you write your passwords out so that you don't forget them, there's another measure you could use, which is having a password manager. A password manager is a software that you can keep all your credentials in. But you also ask me that if I have a password manager, if it's been exposed to an attack, don't I lose all of my passwords? Of course you lose it. Now, this is where we introduce another key points, which are security measures. These are 3. This is something you know, something you have, and something you are. Now, you have to combine these 3 mechanisms together because your password manager also needs a password. Now, the password will consist of something you know, which is giving it a password, making it strong with different characters. Then something you have, which is also securing it with a token. For example, if you want to buy something online with your card, once you put in your credentials, it sends you a token to your mobile phone, for example, for you to authorize that transaction. Now, that is something you have. Now, the third thing is something you are, which could be like a face ID or a fingerprint, which we also known as biometric. Now, if you layer these 3 measures together, it will be difficult for anyone to get access into your password manager. So what I advise is using a password manager to encrypt all your passwords and to store all your passwords. So that's much more beneficial.
Well, I am going to keep those things in my mind, sir. So I will just repeat everyone. So this is your password must be something you know, something you have, or something you are. Is that right, sir? Mm-hmm. And now to continue, sir, do you think these are the common things or common mistakes also that happened in companies? So what could be your advice, or what do you think they should do differently?
What should companies do differently? First off, I want to commend all companies. I think they're doing a great job regarding cybersecurity and they are investing a lot. I must commend them, most of them. But some of them, they are micromanaging when it comes to the issue of cybersecurity, which is alarming. Now, there's this meme I watched where there was a cyber breach, and after the cyber breach, there was then investment in cybersecurity, which is medicine after death. Now, it is usually very important, and I commend them. They do a lot of trainings, and I think they should continue on that path by retraining staffs, because I'll tell you that hackers are on the rise, and they are not relenting. And there are new informations every day. And the algorithm is also changing every day. The way people think is being compromised every day. The way people think daily is being compromised, thereby creating different channels to get access, to gain unauthorized access to people, individuals, and companies. Now, what I advise companies to continue doing is by retraining their staffs, for example, every 6 months. Because there are new phishing techniques, there are new spoofing techniques, there are new ransomware techniques that have not been discovered. What I advise them to do is to keep ensuring the cybersecurity measures, investing a lot in cybersecurity, investing in retraining their staffs. And also, there is this principle that a lot of companies use, which is BYOD, which is bring your own device, which I am strongly against. I don't advise employees to bring their devices from outside. I want employees to use my own device in the company. So I advise that companies should provide digital assets like computers for their employees to use within the infrastructure. And I also strongly would advise that they don't allow employees to take that same device away from the company, because they would use that computer to connect to a different network entirely, which could compromise the integrity of the company's information within that particular asset.
And now, sir, since you have mentioned some advices for companies, now for the benefit of those who are watching us right now, what could be those simple yet effective cybersecurity practices so that we will be secured?
I think that question is also very important. What are the security measures that I think individuals should buy? Okay, it's simple. And it's just a concept in cybersecurity. Always maintain what we call zero trust. This is a principle in cybersecurity. It's a principle of zero trust, which means never trust, always verify. Never trust anyone, always verify. What does this mean? It means if you're an individual and you get a mail, try to verify where the email is coming from. If you send a link, try to verify the link. If you're downloading a mobile application, try to verify the mobile application. Now, these are measures you could take that cost you not so much. It doesn't cost you, in fact, nothing. Right now, let's take a scenario where you have to board a plane, for example. Now, if you have a plane to catch by, let's say, 1 o'clock, you have to be at the airport 3, 4, 5 hours before. What are they trying to ensure? They are trying to buy time so as to ensure a secure space. It's just as simple as that. Now, if you get an email, try to verify where the email is coming from. If you find the link, try to verify the link. If you're downloading an app, try to verify the app. It's simple. Maintain the principle of zero trust. Never trust, always verify. I don't allow anyone to touch my computer. It is that crazy because I have everything. You would agree with me that all our lives are attached to our mobile phones. All our lives are attached to our computers. Your password is there, your credit card is there, your family's photo is there. These are confidential information that you don't want a third party should have access to. It's really important, and you have to safeguard all of this. Maintain the principle of zero trust. Never trust, always verify.
Now, let me just give emphasis on those points, sir, that do not trust, always verify. Okay? In relation to the word verify or verification, can you recommend a software, sir, that companies or individuals so that we can improve our cybersecurity?
Okay. I would categorize this into three groups: the individuals, small businesses, and large organizations. For individuals, what softwares could you use to maintain a cybersecurity infrastructure or posture? There is really none, to be honest. All the softwares you need is just self-awareness. Be self-aware, enshrine the principle of zero trust, because I'll tell you that all of these digital assets that we have are by default secure, and the only things that hackers are going after is called the human vulnerability. Because if you don't click on any link, you're not going to be hacked, right? If you don't download malicious softwares, you're not going to be hacked, right? So let us invest on buying softwares that are original, right? Don't let us get cracked softwares, which is what a lot of people do today. Getting cracked softwares and all that, which is not advisable. There's something we call backdoors. Now, even in the classes, I train students on creating malicious softwares, malicious applications, right? You can have a legit application that does the job, but within it, we have a kind of malware that is called a backdoor that just leaks your information. So what I'll just advise is, you don't need a software, right? Okay, Max, for small businesses, gets an antivirus, not a cracked antivirus, a licensed antivirus. Now, for large organizations, my advice is just to invest in a cybersecurity analyst or a penetration tester to run vulnerability asset analysis from time to time. Maybe it's a frame of like 6 months. Every 6 months, we'll run a vulnerability analysis on our network, on various endpoints we have in the companies. I think this will help ensure that this company is secure and the individual is secure and everyone is safe at large.
Since you have mentioned the software, sir, or the things that we have to bear in our mind, we all know that software is somewhat related to innovation. So when we say innovation, sir, it's something to do with change. And we all know that the only constant term in this world is the word change. So with regards to innovation and change, what are the things that you are more excited for, which is related to cybersecurity?
Oh, so the trends that I'm most excited about right now in cybersecurity. There was this conference I attended, a workshop rather, that I attended the day before yesterday, and it's called the Military Qatar, which is focused on homeland security and safety for 2024. This is the 15th edition, and we have a lot of new security inventions. I was there and I was overwhelmed by the wealth of insight that I got. And one of the most intriguing things that interested me the most, coming from the cybersecurity angle, of course, is a software that was developed to help in key management. Okay, this might be a technical concept that I want to explain now. It's in key management. And what does the software do? Because we had this challenge of sharing keys. And where does these keys exist? When we talk about encryption and decryption, which are sub-concepts of cryptography. Now, I believe students of cybersecurity will understand this better. Now, what do we mean by encryption is converting a simple plain text into what we call a ciphertext, right? And decryption simply means converting the ciphertext back into plain text. Now, for us to do this, we usually need keys to be able to establish the concept of encryption and decryption. Now, if we actually encrypt, to understand the concept of encryption better, on your WhatsApp, you usually find something like end-to-end encryption. If you look very well, you find something like end-to-end encryption. Simply means that what you're sending between yourself and the other person that's receiving the message cannot be read by a third party. Even WhatsApp doesn't have access to it, right? That's what encryption simply means, that no third party can listen to it. Now, for that to exist, we have to share keys between us. Now, you'll understand it better If I lock a particular room with a key and I want to give somebody else the access, what would I give the person? I'll give the person the key. Now, we need to share the key. Now, if I'm sharing a key with you and I send it through a third party, how am I sure that this third party hasn't gone to use that key to access that place? Now, this is where key management comes in. How do we safely transmit keys between two entities? Now, which was a software that was developed to ensure key management. And in fact, I was amazed by the wealth of experience I got with that software. And it is one of the things that I'm most excited about currently.
With those innovations, sir, we all know that AI and machine learning is becoming part of innovations nowadays, right? So, how do you think this AI and machine learning change the landscape of cybersecurity?
I'm really excited that you mentioned AI. FTR, for the record, I'm a fan of AI. I'm a big fan of AI. And in fact, it has really made the job much more easier, right? We can conduct large analysis better and faster now. Now, even to conduct an analysis now for a company and I have a whole lot of endpoints to do, you know, AI helps me to extend the time I'm going to use. So the only time I come in when I have to analyze more complex breaches and more complex concepts. So I'm excited that AI is here, and AI has just really transmogrified everything and made the job much more easier thanks to AI.
Actually, sir, when people heard about AI, what we are thinking is that it could lessen the number of people who could get a job. Okay? In that case, sir, since we have mentioned AI, job, and then cybersecurity, what do you think is the most common demand in terms of cybersecurity, even if we have the AI already?
Yeah, I think we've had a back and forth debate on the fact that AI is going to take a lot of jobs. I wouldn't want to delve into that anymore, but let us look at the past years that we've had with AI. How many jobs has it claimed? So we can use that as a yardstick to know that. But all I'll just say is, as an individual, it is important that you know how to use AI. It's just like knowing how to use a computer. So it's really important. Now, talking about the most in-demand career under cybersecurity, and thank God that you mentioned that. So it is important that people know that under cybersecurity, we have different careers. It's not as if cybersecurity, you can just be a cybersecurity expert. So you have to pick a domain in cybersecurity and build yourself on that career path. So I think one of the most important is cloud security nowadays, because like I mentioned when we started, is the fact that a lot of companies and organizations are moving their data onto the cloud, right? Which simply means that they need much more of cloud security than physical security. So if you can invest in being a cloud security expert, fine and good. Another career path is bug bounty hunting, which is really important, especially if you're looking to make money. Of course, you have to go through the learning process, learning phase of being a bug bounty hunter. You make a lot of cash. And what happens in bug bounty is organizations in the world that build softwares, before that software is being made available to the public, they want to know if it has any vulnerabilities or not before making it available to the common user or the end user. It is important that they assess for its vulnerability. So as a bug bounty hunter, you are the one that assess for its vulnerability and see if it could be hacked or not. So bug bounty is another career. Cybersecurity analysis. A much more interesting career is GRC, governance, risk and compliance, which is really interesting. There's a lot of them, malware analysis, risk assessments. So all of these are beautiful careers that anyone wanting to study cybersecurity could venture into.
And now to our viewers, you have to keep that in your mind. So we have a lot of jobs and opportunities in terms of or something related to cybersecurity. Okay. Now for the next question, sir, is there are a lot of people who wanted to, have a transition from the IT role to cybersecurity. So what could be your advices for them?
It's quite interesting that a lot of people are transitioning into cybersecurity. You know, before it used to be that a lot of people want to study medicine, study law, study all of this interesting field. But nowadays, I'm seeing doctors transitioning into cybersecurity. I've gotten a doctor that called me that I want to come into cybersecurity. Come on, you guys, what are you looking for? A lot of civil engineers are transitioning into cybersecurity. And I'll tell you, it's simple. It's a very interesting field, practical. It's something you can resonate with. And my advice to them, if you're transitioning into cybersecurity, is know the basis, have the elementary foundation of computing, know how to use a computer system very well. Now, do you have to know programming? Some aspect of cybersecurity demands programming. Governance, risk, and compliance, for example, you don't need to know anything in programming. It's safe to say that you don't need to know anything in programming, of course. So you need to know the rudiments. Yes, now, you also have to know networking, really important. Networking is really important. No matter the domain you're going for in cybersecurity, networking is really important. Computer appreciation, computer networking, and generally knowing how to use a computer system very well is crucial in your cybersecurity journey. So transitioning is easy, and you're gonna have a smooth ride in cybersecurity, I promise.
Now, I know a lot of people after watching this episode will be curious about cybersecurity, and they will feel this hunger for something more. So, what is this place? I mean, where do you think is a good place to start learning cybersecurity?
Thank you for the question. Where is a good place to start cybersecurity? Especially if you're starting new. What I usually advise students, especially if you're delving into any field in IT that I am biased about, is try to get a mentor. This is crucial to your growth and development, because what a mentor will do is help you navigate and have a smooth journey in your career, so that you don't encounter the same mistakes others might have encountered while transitioning or whilst starting that career. What I'd advise is first getting a mentor, then certifications. Now you need to study for certifications, and some of the certifications I would recommend would be CC by Squared, Computer Security Plus. These are basic certifications that will set your path as a cybersecurity person, right? You will not be a cybersecurity guru or expert with just those certifications. Of course, we have CISSP, we have OSCP, other major certifications, but starting out, Computer Security Plus will help you. But you also need to prepare. You need a trainer, you need somebody to train you. Of course, Infocus Training Center is there to help you. We have great mentors. We have great instructors that will help you through this journey of learning cybersecurity from the scratch. And what we try to do in Infocus is, we know you're coming into cybersecurity and we know you want to use this as a career. So we take it as a point and we take the pain of taking you through the elementary, making you versed in computer appreciation and networking, which are one of the requirements or prerequisites of learning cybersecurity. So we do that to help you in taking your professional exam like Computer Security Plus or ISC Squared or CC and every other certifications you might need to take. So, like I mentioned, get a mentor, get a trainer, and get into cybersecurity.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Aliu, for your informative discussion for our episode 1. And you have heard it right, viewers. So for you to be able to learn more about cybersecurity, you have to register at Infocus Training Center. So for more informative discussion, please stay tuned for the next episode of CareerCraft Podcast.